All right, let's dive straight into this explainer. Look, if you're a developer who's been staring at those exorbitant gas fees on other networks, wondering how on earth you're going to actually get a Web3 project off the ground without bankrupting yourself or your users, well, you're in exactly the right place. Today, we're unpacking a highly pragmatic, high-energy blueprint for building on BNB Chain. We're not talking theory here. This is all about taking your project from 0 to 1, bypassing the friction, and launching fast.
So let's start with a really stark reality. 10 cents. That is the massive opportunity we're looking at. Because honestly, when Ethereum works almost too well, deploying a single contract can literally cost a developer's weekly salary. Executing a simple swap can totally price out normal everyday people. But BNB Chain offers a median gas cost of just about 9 to 10 cents. Suddenly, students can actually deploy code. Fast-paced games can run entirely on-chain. DeFi becomes accessible to a user who only has 10 bucks in their wallet, rather than just catering to crypto whales.
And then there's this number. 3. BNB Chain operates with 3-second blocks. This blazing speed means fast-paced applications, especially things like mobile interfaces and gaming, can actually function smoothly for everyday retail users. You get an environment that feels incredibly responsive, which is absolutely crucial if you want to build products that people will genuinely enjoy using on a daily basis. But what really sets this whole ecosystem apart is the sheer scale. 180 million. That's the built-in global audience of Binance users. Since BNB Chain acts basically as the layer 1 for the entire Binance ecosystem, you have a direct on-ramp to one of the absolute largest liquidity and user pools in the entire crypto space. So here's our blueprint for the journey. First, the BNB Chain Advantage. Second, the 1-hour launch. Third, tokens, games, and DeFi. Fourth, getting real users fast. And finally, security and bear markets. All right, Section 1, the BNB Chain Advantage. Let's look at why you would choose BNB over Ethereum. It really all comes down to what you're actually getting, and just as importantly, what you're trading away. Let's be totally transparent about this. On one hand, Ethereum offers maximum decentralization with over 1 million validators. If your users are massive DAOs swinging $10 million treasuries around and median gas is sitting at $3.40, Ethereum is absolutely where you need to be. But on the other hand, BNB Chain is fundamentally tailored for the Binance ecosystem, mobile platforms, and global retail users. You're essentially trading Ethereum's Visa-level decentralization for BNB Chain's Visa-level fees. If your users live outside the US, maybe have less than 100 bucks to play with, and rely mostly on their mobile phones, BNB Chain simply wins. Moving right along to Section 2, the 1-hour launch, taking a project from concept to live in 60 minutes. Now that we understand the why, let's get into the practical mechanics and prove just how insanely fast a builder can get a project up and running without overcomplicating everything. This 4-step deployment flow is your bread and butter. Because BNB Chain is completely EVM compatible, meaning it uses the exact same foundational code environment as Ethereum, you get to use the exact same tools. First up, set up MetaMask and add the BNB RPC, which is basically your communication bridge to the network. Second, hit the testnet faucet for some free tokens. Third, deploy using no-code tools like ThirdWeb, or just use standard OpenZeppelin templates in Remix. And fourth, verify your contract on BscScan. Seriously, following this flow, you can literally launch a BEP20 token and add liquidity on PancakeSwap in under an hour, for about $5 total. The gas for the deployment itself, just a mere 20 cents. But before we rush ahead, we need to pause and absorb this golden rule straight from the source material. Never test with real money. The BNB testnet on Chain 97 is fully functional. So go use the BNB faucet. Deploy your code, break it, fix it, and break it again, all for exactly $0, before you ever even think about pushing a single line of code to the mainnet.
Section 3. Tokens, games, and DeFi. The building blocks of the ecosystem. Whether you're launching tokens, NFTs, or DeFi protocols, you're playing with the exact same building blocks you'd use on Ethereum. A BEP20 token, it's just an exact copy of the ERC20 standard. A BEP721 NFT, exact same thing as an ERC721. Because these standards are identical to Ethereum's, we end up with a pretty fascinating reality. 90% of DeFi on the BNB Smart Chain is essentially just a Uniswap v2 fork, very often modeled right after PancakeSwap. Now, the code is open source, so it's perfectly legal, even if it drives some of the purists crazy. But the source material throws up a massive warning sign here. If you just copy and paste without adding a unique feature, why on earth would anyone actually use your platform? To survive, you have to add a specific niche. Don't just fork it, build something highly tailored, like perps for gaming or a super localized DEX so you can actually stand out from the crowd. Now, what happens when the main chain's 100 transactions per second simply isn't enough? Let's say you're building a massively multiplayer, fully on-chain game. Well, that brings us to BNB. This is a Layer 2 scaling solution built directly on top of the BNB Smart Chain using the Optimism stack. It delivers over 4,000 transactions per second at literally a thousandth of a penny in gas. Developers can easily bridge assets from the main chain to BNB in about a minute, which gives those high-frequency games and social dApps the immense scale they desperately require.
Section 4. Getting real users fast. Let's talk about the Binance distribution machine.
You know, tech can be incredibly tribal, but at the end of the day, users don't care about tribes. They just go wherever the functioning apps and the financial rewards are. To capture that audience, you have to navigate the Binance distribution machine, which is essentially a massive funnel. A lot of founders make the fatal mistake of expecting a global spot listing on Binance.com on day one, but the source strongly advises a systematic approach instead. You start at stage 1, integrate Binance Pay. That immediately lets 30 million centralized exchange users pay your dApp in 2 taps, without even needing a Web3 wallet. Next, you apply for stage 2, Binance Alpha, to capture those vital early adopters. As your project's valuation grows, you aim for launch pool to reach 10 million stakers, and finally, the holy grail, a spot listing to 180 million global users. You've got to climb the ladder sequentially.
And right along the way, there are some highly actionable growth strategies perfectly tailored for this retail-heavy ecosystem. First off, list your project for free on DappBay, which is the chain's official app directory. Second, users here love and expect rewards, so run airdrops, but make absolutely sure to use the Binance BAB token, which actually requires KYC to make those airdrops Sybil resistant. That guarantees one real human gets one reward, stopping bot farms right in their tracks. You can also use Galaxy Quests to incentivize specific user tasks. And when it comes to marketing, micro key opinion leaders on Telegram are often way more effective here than massive Twitter accounts. Just a quick, critical warning from the text, though: never, ever pay influencers without strict token vesting schedules in place, or I guarantee you they'll just dump your token on day one.
Section 5. Security and bear markets. Surviving and thriving.
So, cheap gas definitely has a dark side. We have to discuss the sobering realities of exploits, legal compliance, and the sheer grit required to survive a crypto winter. Back in 2021, the network gained a pretty notorious reputation. Because it was so cheap to deploy, scammers absolutely flooded in, which birthed the infamous BSC rug meme. To overcome that historical stigma and actually build genuine trust with cautious VCs and real users, you absolutely must follow this anti-rug checklist. Dox your team, or at the very least get a private KYC. Pay up for a legitimate audit from a reputable firm like Certic. Publicly lock your liquidity pool for 2 years using a service like Team.Finance. Secure your treasury with a safe multi-sig wallet, meaning multiple team members have to sign off on any transaction, so no single rogue person can drain the funds. And finally, enforce a visible 4-year vesting schedule for all team tokens.
I really cannot emphasize this next point enough. $20,000 saves $20 million. Skipping a smart contract audit on this network is essentially a death sentence for your total value locked. The source explicitly points out that looking at the 2023 exploits, a staggering 90% of hacked funds came from unaudited protocol forks. Think about that. A PancakeSwap fork with a rock-solid audit might attract $100 million in total value locked, but that exact same fork without an audit, it's going to attract 0. Do not skip the audit.
Finally, let's talk about long-term survival. Because in a bear market, tokens on this chain can drop 95%, and liquidity can just vanish into thin air. So, how do you survive? Look at PancakeSwap. They survived by building relentlessly through the brutal 2019 bear market. The strategy laid out here is super clear. Right now, focus purely on building and shipping. Within a month, ensure your protocol's actual revenue exceeds its operating costs. Over the next 6 months, keep 70% of your treasury in stablecoins to guarantee yourself a 2-year runway. And over 2 years, by continuously communicating and shipping features, you position yourself to dominate the next bull market. Because the users, they will remember who stayed and kept building.
Which brings us to the end of our roadmap. BNB Chain isn't trying to be the most decentralized network on Earth. It's trying to be the most used. It offers 10-cent fees and a direct path to 180 million people. The infrastructure is sitting right there. The chain is incredibly fast. The only question left is, are you ready to build faster? Take this playbook, open up your IDE, and start shipping.